A tropical wave currently moving through the Caribbean shows a high likelihood of tropical development by the end of the week. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Okay, hi everyone. Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather. Nice to see you on a Monday. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great weekend. A lot of important information to get into in this video. We're going to talk about this tropical wave in the Central Caribbean, the impactful weather it's been bringing for some of our area today, and the evolution of this. You can see the Hurricane Center is not playing around. They've already hoisted a orange area, a 50% chance of tropical development as this tropical wave moves into the Western Caribbean by the end of the week. I'll have a lot more coming up on that. Of course, we'll get into the rest of the forecast, look island by island, but really deep dive into how this could evolve, becoming a named storm and where it might be headed and the impacts it could be bringing. Let's talk about what's going on this Monday. First of all, that's the biggest feature, that tropical wave just south of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. You also have a big area of high pressure in the Western Atlantic, and wedged in between is this frontal boundary. That's a lot of wind energy in the Western Atlantic, so near gale force winds for portions of the Bahamas and the Turks and the Caicos. A lot of moisture over Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, and the British and U.S. Virgin Islands today, and all of that's moving off towards the west. This is what's left over of Rafael, which means it's done. It became post-tropical yesterday. Thankfully, Rafael cooperated and did not impact any area across the Gulf Coast states in any meaningful way. It just dissipated in the central Gulf, and that was a great thing to see. So let's get into what's happening at the hour with this tropical wave on this late Monday. First of all, you can see it's relatively impressive. I think the Hurricane Center looked at this morning and said, you know what? We're going to up this thing to at least a 50% chance because already we have some spin. It's still a disorganized area of showers and storms, but I'm going to show you some of the model data here. And it does look like this is going to try and develop quicker than some of the last storms we've been watching in the Caribbean. So, you know, already a big field of disorganized rain and even some thunderstorm activity. You can see the lightning count here. There's a lot of turbulence. There's a lot of lift in the atmosphere. So places that are currently being impacted by this wave, like the Dominican Republic and Haiti, it's not just tropical downpours. It's some good thunderstorm activity as well. Port-au-Prince had a 28-mile-an-hour wind gust here on this late Monday afternoon. Rain breaking out over the peninsula towards Lacaille. And overall, for Hispaniola, the rain is just getting more widespread, more areas getting some wet weather on this late Monday. Places like Puerto Plata towards the Samana Peninsula, Punta Cana on over towards Barcelona and Santo Domingo and La Romana, all with opportunities for some showers and storms the remainder of this Monday. It had been very wet over Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands earlier today. As a matter of fact, there was a flash flood warning for the British Virgin Islands until the early afternoon hours. Thankfully, the rain and the clouds have kind of broken apart as we've just gone deeper into this Monday afternoon. This is what it looks like right now on the radar out of Puerto Rico. You can see it's much more spotty right now for Puerto Rico, Vieques, Culebra, St. Thomas, St. Croix, St. John, and the British Virgin Islands. Heftier showers and even a few storms on the western side of the island towards the Mona Passage, and the eastern side of the DR towards La Romana and Punta Cana. But earlier in the day, if I go back over to our cloud coverage here and put this back into motion, you're going to see again just this area sat over places like St. Thomas and St. John and Tortola and Jost Van Dyke and Virgin Gorda, and we did have some flooding out of this. Take a look at some of the pictures that BB sent me out of the Tortola area of the British Virgin Islands. That is a flooded roadway, friends. That's why we had the flash flood warning. We had more than 4 inches of rain earlier today in portions of the British Virgin Islands. And it's not just that picture. Take a look at this 4 quad box of pictures, if you will, especially top right and bottom right. Look at what that's fast moving water. To take those cars and to push them either off of the roadways or to push them together like that on the bottom right hand picture, that is fast moving flooding waters moving through the Tortola area. So obviously there was some damage and some destruction. If you live in these areas, let me know in the comments section below how you guys fared, because obviously there was some impactful flooding going on in portions of the British Virgin Islands earlier today. Appreciate BB sending me in those photos. If you would like to send in a picture or a video of where you live, the simplest way to do it email me, mymediamundo@gmail.com. Just remember to include your name, obviously where that picture or video is from. If you'd like to give me a time frame, hey Rusty, this was Monday night or this was Tuesday morning, I appreciate that. And again, thank you for sending me in those pictures and videos. Really does help to tell the story here in these videos and to our Meteo Mundo weather community. We've had some scattered showers here through portions of the Lesser Antilles, especially towards the Leeward Islands today. Places like Anguilla and St. Martin and St. Bart's and Barbuda and Antigua, Seba, St. Eustatius, St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, all with opportunities for some passing showers. It wasn't as concentrated as the British Virgin Islands and areas off towards the west, but again, you can see on this visible satellite imagery that thicker cloud coverage a little bit earlier in the day here brought about a bit of that rain. Again, in some choice locations. As we got a little bit further south for today, it broke apart even a little bit more, so not as much rain for places like Dominica and Martinique for today, St. Lucia. Barbados, that did have some heavy rain over the weekend, dried out a bit on this Monday. That's the same overall scenario for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad, and Tobago. Yes, there has been some rain in this area, but nothing extremely concentrated on this Monday for most spots. Same thing for Nueva Esparta. Now, we get back to the ABC Islands, okay? And you can see that that moisture with this tropical wave is more elongated north to south. So we're actually trying to break out a couple of showers and even a few thunderstorms for our friends in Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, especially towards the Aruba area. Some storms developing off the South American coastline. Again, there's more instability and lift in the atmosphere. So hopefully our friends in the ABC Islands catch some of these showers trying to develop in the area. It's been relatively quiet today in Jamaica. We're just starting to see a few showers and an isolated storm develop in the western side of the island, like St. Elizabeth and Trelawney parishes. Spotty. Look, many dry hours and locations. Those could drift into St. James and Westmoreland and Hanover parishes late on this Monday, but don't be surprised even if in these areas you just get some cloud coverage rather than really getting any bitty rain. We've also been relatively dry since Rafael has moved to the north through Quintana Roo, Cancun, and Cozumel, back over towards Belize and Guatemala. Sure, there's a little isolated shower storm trying to develop here in the coastline, but it's been relatively quiet here, guys. Same thing for most of northern sides of Honduras. You get back down towards Nicaragua and portions of Costa Rica and Panama, a little bit more wet weather here in these areas the last couple of days. And we've been dry in the northwest, the northern, and the central Bahamas for what seems like in some spots more than a week, but the winds have been very fresh and they'll continue to be fresh. Again, near gale conditions are possible, especially on the eastern sides of the islands here for the Bahamas and the Turks and the Caicos for the foreseeable future. Going to be a lot of wind energy in those spots. Friends, if you'd like to do me a real simple payback, thank you for liking this video right now. If you've been looking for your tropical updates in your Caribbean and Bahamas forecast, you found your home. Thank you for clicking that subscribe button right now. We're on our way to 50,000 subscribers. I would love to get there as soon as possible. Thank you for sharing this with your family and friends. Thank you for finding ways to support the channel. You can do that via our memberships, 99 cents a month. That's the join button. Our super thanks. There's other ways to support the channel, and you can find that in the video description below as well. Okay, if we get a named storm in the Western Caribbean later this weekend into the weekend, that would be the 18th named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. Rafael was number 17. We've had 17 named storms, 11 hurricanes, and 5 major hurricanes. By all metrics, this has been a very active Atlantic hurricane season. I know there's been some significant lulls, but we have now picked up 17 named storms. We've only got 4 left. I hope we don't get any named storms, but I don't want to be talking about William late this month or even into early December. Again, we are still in hurricane season officially until the end of November. And there are no signs this is going to be letting up, at least for the next week or two. Again, with this tropical wave, it's looking more impressive. I got to tell you, this is the visible satellite imagery of it right now. So unlike Rafael, which it seemed like we were looking at that area in the western side of the Caribbean to develop for weeks and weeks, I think we're going to get a fairly quick wrap up of this storm. Now, we don't have an invest area as of yet, but once we do so, and that might be coming in the next 48 hours or so, then we'll get our high resolution tropical models to start running, like the HWRF and the HMON and the HAFS A and B, and we'll get those spaghetti plots. But you can clearly see the National Hurricane Center has kind of, up the intensity of this, if you will, to already throw a 50% chance on. And there's several reasons why, I see what they're seeing. First of all, there's very little wind shear. Sea surface temperatures in the central and the western Caribbean are absolutely favorable to still support solid tropical development. Remember, Rafael became a major Category 3 hurricane before it made landfall in the western Caribbean, and we still have this Central American gyre in play. And just like Helene, Nadine, and Rafael did, as it bumped into the eastern side of that spin and more lift in the atmosphere, that's when we started to see this really get going. So it may not be long to get ourselves development right here. Now, along the way, it's going to bring impactful weather for the Dominican Republic and Haiti, into eastern sides of Jamaica, and eventually into, eastern sides of Cuba, and eventually into Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. So these areas, regardless of development, will be in for some wet weather over the next few days, and then we'll see how this plays out and how that could bring rainfall to portions of Central America and the Yucatan Peninsula as well. Let's deep dive into the models. Like I said, once we get in Invest, we'll be able to take a look and really look at those high resolution tropical models. But for now, we'll dig into the GFS and the European models here, and we'll look at both what we call the deterministic and the ensemble members of those. So the first things first, this is the deterministic model run of the GFS. All right, I'm going to take off that orange area, just a little bit easier to see. So this is the main run of the GFS. You can clearly see as we get into Thursday, I think that's about the first time frame where we could start to see this wrap up, that low-level center kind of stalls out just east of Honduras and Nicaragua and begins to develop here in the western side of the Caribbean. So time frame wise, as we get into Thursday, which would be the 14th, we start to see again just more moisture develop, just like it did with Rafael. This could be a very wet area, a lot of heavy rain, regardless of where the actual center goes, meaning that we could get a lot of moisture to back build north and east, even into the Turks and Caicos. Remember with Rafael, Haiti got a lot of rain. Southeast Cuba got a lot of rain, and obviously closer to Jamaica and the Cayman Islands started to see more of the direct impacts. But just off the Honduras coastline, as we get into our Saturday, we really start to see this system wrap up. Now, the newest run of the GFS pulls it north and west, but I'm going to show you that there's not a lot of agreement in the models, even with the GFS ensembles, as to where this might go. The models are showing a high likelihood of development, but as far as where this thing might go from there once it does develop, there is still a huge spectrum of potential solutions. But on this one, as we get into next Monday night, it would be in the far northwest side of the Caribbean. Let's take a look at the wind profile field out of this. Again, we're going to go back over to the GFS, same model, just the surface winds. So these are going to be your sustained surface winds. We'll take a look at the wind gusts in a second, but you can clearly see that this wind field begins to fairly quickly develop. And certainly by the weekend on the GFS, we have a named storm. We have Tropical Storm Sarah. And I got to tell you something, just like Rafael, the models are already pointing to the possibility of this becoming a hurricane. And remember, if you think it's too late in the season, go back last week where we had major Category 3 hurricane Rafael. But if we look at, this would be Sunday late, you're going to get yourselves a pretty solid tropical storm with winds of over 60 miles an hour, sustained, by the way, just off of the Honduras coastline. And again, we don't want to look too closely at where this might be going, but on this one, it's heading north and west. But more than anything, you notice that it starts to strengthen even a little bit more here. We'll pick up winds in a couple of spots more at around 65. So we're getting to a high-end tropical storm here on the GFS. And just to, again, to bring this back, and we'll just kind of stair-step this over time. So if we look at the kind of initial development, late Thursday, but especially on Friday. This would be Friday, 8 o'clock at night. Start to really see that low-level center wrap up and just get stronger and stronger over the weekend into our Monday, 7 days from now. Let's take a look at the wind gusts associated with this. I think I might have to do it like this. So every so often the computer doesn't like me going to that graphic right away. That's fine. All I have to do is do this, click that button, and then we'll loop it back up. Just give me just 1 second here to go back out 1 week. I wanted to show you these wind gusts because, again, what you guys looked at right there were sustained winds, but to show you that there's going to be a fairly large wind field associated with this. Remember, Rafael was a pretty compact storm. This looks to have a more expansive wind field to begin with, okay? So now this is going to be your gusts beginning to develop here. And you'll start to see, again, this wind field get a little bit larger compared to Raphael in general. Now, again, we don't want to focus on one location. I know that this is trying to pull it back to the north and to the west, but there are several models that still pull it north and east, just like it did with Raphael, right? Some of them that take it closer to Jamaica and Cuba and the Cayman Islands, and others that do push it back into Central America. And then what happens from there? Again, a lot of questions still into play, but a lot of the models are showing development. So you can just clearly see here, we just stopped this. This is going to be early on Monday. And again, wind gusts just off of the Honduras and Nicaraguan coastlines will be expansive, where tropical storm force winds could extend close to Grand Cayman even at that point in time, hundreds and hundreds of miles. So relatively speaking, this could be a much larger storm with more wind impacts if it does wrap up compared to Raphael. That is what, late Monday? That's Monday afternoon there, right? So again, back to these orange areas where you would have gusts, tropical storm force well away from the center of circulation, and obviously impacting portions of Central America. These are the GFS ensembles. So we looked at the deterministic, the one main model run, the ensemble members, 51 different members of the GFS model. Starting to see development Thursday, Friday. Start to look at the spread, guys, over the weekend. Some of them building back north and to the east, others pulling to the north, others back into the north and to the west. Yes, the GFS does try and take this storm into the Gulf of Mexico, okay? Paused it Tuesday afternoon of next week. So some of the members that had it north and east kind of fizzle it out. The majority of the GFS ensemble members take it either north or northwest and then push it either into the Northwest Caribbean or even to the southeast side of the Gulf of Mexico. So yes, if you're viewing in places like Florida and the Bahamas, this is a storm we have to keep an eye on. Let me be very clear. There's not a lot of agreement with the models as to how this might evolve early next week, especially in November. The wind fields, as you get into the late part of hurricane season in the Gulf of Mexico, are extremely turbulent and they change very quickly. Again, there's not some big old area of high pressure ridge just sitting over the southeast like it does so in June, July, and August. We're getting cold fronts coming in, we're getting fast moving systems, and the wind fields and the shear and or the wind direction in the Gulf that could eventually pull or push this storm one way or the other quickly change. So we would be looking at really kind of short term or very, nowcasting is what I'd call it. It's hard to talk about the evolution of a storm and then all of the different factors that come into play in the Gulf. So we'll see how that plays out down the road, right? A lot more confidence overall in what's developing in the Caribbean compared to what could be happening, especially when you get into a very quickly changing pattern like we have in the Gulf as we get into mid-November. Now on the European deterministic model, again, let's break this down. You'll start to see development here in the Western Caribbean as we get into Thursday and eventually Friday. Now, the European deterministic does something interesting. It pulls it east towards Jamaica over the weekend, gets it stronger near Jamaica, and then actually pushes it back north and west, okay? So it's an interesting scenario to actually develop the storm east, a little bit like Raphael did, but then push it almost back due west. And you notice, by the way, on the European deterministic model, the main model run of the European, as we get into Tuesday of next week, it has yet to exit the Caribbean because of this slow grind east into Sunday, and then this push back west into Monday and Tuesday. All right. Now, most of the European ensembles are more progressive with this storm, but once again, there's a large spread in the models. You're going to see some back build east towards the Dominican Republic and Haiti. You're going to see some over Jamaica, but you'll see the majority of them eventually pull it north and west and into the southeast Gulf of Mexico. So again, development here towards the end of the week and into the weekend. Some members go north and east, but the majority of them that hold the storm together build it north or northwest. I paused it Monday afternoon, basically 7 days out. Still a big spread here, guys, but obviously there's a very high signal for development. So again, pretty high confidence of tropical development in the Western Caribbean. Pretty low confidence as to actually how this could evolve, but you can see that several of these models, the ensembles, do have a stronger storm. It's highly likely we get ourselves a tropical storm or potentially even a hurricane. All right, so we need to start thinking about that as well. I mentioned the wind conditions in the Western Atlantic. There's your near gale force winds here. And then obviously we're going to have some turbulent surf and sea conditions wherever this gets going. But for places across the Caribbean coastline of Central America and the Yucatan, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, southern coastline of Cuba, the Dominican Republic and Haiti, we're going to start to see those seas get elevated as well throughout the week. The weather just kind of going downhill through the remainder of the week, okay? Now, we're going to get into the island by island rainfall forecast, but obviously I've already hit on how this is going to be impacting a lot of the area. I'm just going to stair step this actually back down until just our Thursday, just a little bit shorter loop here. The bottom line is, we're still going to get some showers and storms across the Lesser Antilles, but as the moisture gets pulled away from our tropical wave, the rain is just going to break apart a bit. It's not going to be as concentrated. It's not going to be as heavy. So more dry hours and locations, but still rain chances will be decent. Rain chances will still be high for portions of the U.S. and British Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico over the next couple days, though overall rain chances will begin to tail off a bit as we get into Thursday and Friday. Same scenario for at least the Dominican Republic. For Haiti, we'll just have to see if the moisture gets back that far north and east. You see a little bit of green in the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos. That's actually more wind than anything. That's just a little bit of moisture-laden wind coming in. Can't rule out a couple of showers, but I'm still expecting near gale force conditions. So small craft, please check in. Exercise caution, especially if you're going to be in the open waters of the Atlantic. Sea conditions are going to be very rough. Obviously, rain chances will improve for Kingston, Portmore, Spanish Town, all of Jamaica, Montego Bay, Black River. The Cayman Islands are going to start to get wet again. Little Cayman, Brac, Grand Cayman, rain chances start to go high. Cuba as well. And again, just depending on the evolution of this potential tropical development area, which is already 50% chance, but that number is going to go up, friends. We could see some heavier rainfall for portions of the Yucatan and Central America. Those finer details will be borne out in the days ahead. Breaking down the island by island rain chance. Low chance for the Bahamas overall, slightly better for the southeast Bahamas on our Wednesday. Decent rain chances the next couple days for the Turks and Caicos, tailing off on Thursday. Cuba's rain chances remain relatively high, especially the eastern side of the island. Look at the building rain chance in the Cayman Islands. 30% chance tomorrow, 50 Wednesday, 80 on Thursday. Rain chances much improved for Belize City as well by Thursday. Cancun and Cozumel will start to see their rain chances go up. 40% chance tomorrow in Jamaica, 60% chance Wednesday and Thursday. Wet, stormy weather, potentially still can't rule out some flooding in the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Puerto Rico, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. Even Bermuda has a decent chance for a few showers as we go through Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis start off with a 60% chance for tomorrow, 50 Wednesday, back down to a 30 on our Thursday. 40 to a 50% chance across Antigua and Barbuda over the coming days. Same thing for Montserrat and Guadeloupe. Dominica, Martinique, a little bit higher chance for tomorrow. It's still a pretty good chance on Wednesday and Thursday, and then scattered to isolated rain for the rest of the Lesser Antilles into the Windward Islands, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, all with a 40 to 50% chance. I'm not expecting anything very concentrated each day, but passing showers developing, some of that producing locally heavy rainfall is in the cards through our Thursday. Scattered showers for Suriname and Guyana, more isolated for Nueva Esparta, but again, the ABC Islands have the opportunity, as long as that tropical wave is relatively close, to see some showers in those areas. Looking at the European rainfall totals, again, look at all of this rain here on the northern side of that tropical wave. Everything progresses off towards the west, and you'll really see towards the weekend, look at that build. And again, the European deterministic pull some of that moisture back towards Jamaica, so we'll see just how much rain could fall for places like Jamaica, maybe even the Cayman Islands, western sides of Haiti, portions of Central America. Again, drier Turks and Caicos through the Bahamas. Still some wet conditions for portions of Puerto Rico and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. And there's your drier air for the Lesser Antilles overall, but still some pockets of heavy rain are possible. That was the European model. This is the GFS. I'll just again take off that yellow area. Obviously, if this low that is trying to develop just basically sits in the Western Caribbean, and especially with the counterclockwise winds, that could pull in a lot of moisture across an axis that could include places like Jamaica and the Cayman Islands and portions of Nicaragua and Honduras. We'll see how this plays out, but you can see that swath on the northern side is excessive rainfall. And the GFS has potentially excessive rainfall through Jamaica as well, in the western tip, the western peninsula of Haiti, as I've mentioned, towards the Lakai area. So all of those spots, and you can almost clearly see this spin, and there's your center right there, could be inundated with 4 to 8 inches of rain, 100 to 200 millimeters, and locally even higher, okay? And again, still some impressive rainfall totals are possible for portions of Puerto Rico, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, even trying to sneak up to the northeast sides of the Dominican Republic. But obviously, as this wave moves west, it's going to carry the most significant rain with it. So here's what I'm watching. Tropical development does look likely in the Western Caribbean towards the end of the week and especially over the weekend. As that tropical wave moves west, it will continue to bring a flood threat with it. Strong winds, close to gale conditions will continue for the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos, and just overall, very unsettled weather pattern for our entire area through late November. In the coming weeks, regardless of tropical development, there still looks to be a lot more rain to fall for the month. So that's something I'm going to continue to monitor, but obviously in the short term, this is the number one story, the potential and the high likelihood of development here in the Western Caribbean. Friends, I appreciate you guys. You can follow us across all social media. We're not just on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. Again, you want to send me a picture or video, the easiest way to do it, myMediaMundo@gmail.com. While you're down there, if you want to ask a question about the forecast, feel free to do so. Thank you for liking and subscribing as well. Friends, you have a great rest of your Monday. I'll be back tomorrow with all the latest. Until then, you take care, and I'll see you soon right here at Meteo Mundo.